Hello, my loves, and happy Friday to everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. Today is another one of those days that did not go to plan. I was hoping to get to town today, but we had a sneaky little snowstorm come in overnight and this morning. It didn't accumulate a lot, but it was followed by an ice rain mix, so I knew the roads were not going to be a lot of fun. We are out in the country, so they do plow the highway and the main road and the subdivisions, and then they get to the country road. So I decided instead to create a Folio tutorial for you all, and I am still using my stash papers. I'm going to be kind of making a version of a previous flip book that I created that had a spiral binding, and instead of having pockets, this book has full page flips and some tips that also fold up. So there is quite a lot of room in this folio for pictures and journaling, and so each of these pages is going to have all that additional wonderful space. We're going to be using up quite a lot of our stash paper as well, so that makes me happy. And this project can be made for those who do not have a spiral binding with a ring, so that you can go ahead and capture all those pages together. So stick with me, friends, and we will make this together. So here's my paper pad that I'm using today. This is the Rose Quartz pad from DCWV, and although it is not quite as good a value as the Hot Buy paper pads that you get at Michael's, this is actually quite a better quality, I think. Many of the pages inside have a pretty foiling to them. There are quite a few pages that are journal cut apart. There are sentiment strips as well, and the quality of the paper is very thick. So this is going to help beef up the sturdiness of our mini album. I also really liked that most of the patterns inside were basically non-directional. So there's just a couple of scripty fonts in here, but most of these will work equally well for page flips if you're going right to left or up and down. So this is going to increase the versatility of this paper pad. Another thought that I had for my project today is that I wanted to make a base that was easily replicatable. All of these pages are going to wind up to be the same size, so cutting the papers for all of the book is going to require only one set of measurements. That helps it to go very fast, and how we're going to fold our pattern paper will really utilize those stash papers, because we're going to be using a full sheet of pattern paper for each set of pages. So I am going to create my base, and I'm using 65 pound weight cardstock as well as 110 pound. We're going to be adding quite a lot of layers, so this will be very nice and sturdy. For the cover, I'm going to be using that 110 pound just to get it a little bit thicker, and the measurement for this piece is going to be 6 by 11. I'm going to come in and score it at 5.5. So you will use the same measurement throughout the book for both of the weights of paper. You will notice also that I have added some adhesive. I just want to go ahead and seal these pages up, and I don't want to add adhesive too far along the outside because I want to put it in my spiral cutter, and I don't want adhesive to get on those cutting blades as they go through. So this will help to keep that cleaner and functioning better. It's barely working now, so I wanted to make sure to treat it as well as I can. And so once I have that paper tape peeled, I would just go ahead and seal that up. This is going to be the right-hand side of my page. I really like that fold here because it adds a little bit of extra thickness and it's a nice finished edge. So this will just look nicer. Once you have that done, you can put this through your spiral binding system. I happen to have the Bind It All. I think whatever binding system you have would be a comparable amount that it would cut in, so that once you have the spiral wound into it, it will be nice and sturdy. This size, 6 inches, happens to be very nice because you can get 2 portions out of the longer spiral section. So this is a good economy of supplies. And you're going to want your 110 pound on the outside and then the 65 pound weight on the inside. So if you do not have a spiral binding, you can easily replicate this design with rings. As I have demonstrated before, you just want to make yourself a little template and measure in and punch your holes, and then use the template for each set of pages so that you will keep all of those layers measured exactly. So I have already prepared my book here that we're going to go ahead and finish, and I just wound up crimping that spiral so that it would be all ready, and I can just go ahead and begin to add my layers. So you can see that I have taken 4 sheets of the 65 pound weight cardstock. That's going to make up all of the pages on the inside, and then the thicker pages on the outside as the cover. Once you have your cut made, you will notice a big difference in the amount of width that you have. I went back and measured mine and decided that I would have a 5 and an 8 width so that it would be measured after the spiral so that everything can be centered on the remaining portion of the page. So I'm just going to go ahead and start assembling the pages out of the book so that I can share with you the process. So I've cut my cardstock here. This is a pretty dove gray. It's just neutral and it works really well with that rose palette. So this piece is going to be 5 7/8 by 5, and that will leave me my nice border all the way around. And that will be the same for all of the pages inside. So that's one measurement that is consistent. And then your pattern paper is going to be 5 3/4 of an inch high and 9 3/4 of an inch wide. So when you come back in and score it at 4 7/8, you're still going to have that beautiful border of cardstock going around the inset. So what I've done is picked a pattern paper that I really love both of the sides to, and we're going to use this as a full page flip. This will greatly increase the thickness and the sturdiness of our book, and also add quite a lot more space for adding pictures and journaling when we go to finish this. So I did already add some double-sided adhesive tape. I'm going to come in and add a little bit of my Tombow because this is a large bendy part and I don't want any stress on this piece. So I know it will be nice and secure. So I'm just going to pull this toward myself for a moment so that I can get it centered well. And it is important to have your pages folding outward so that you're putting the bulk toward the outside of the pages. And keep in mind, if you do decide to use one or more of the patterns that have some direction to it, to keep in mind that you need to remember that direction when your page flips open. So here is my page that flips open. And then we can add this as a unit to the inside of the book. I think just my tape will work for this layer. So let's go ahead and add this. If you want to go ahead and add a little bit more Tombow, that would be fine. And I'm just going to turn my book on its side so that I can get a good view of how much space I'm leaving on the side and the top and the bottom so that I can get it centered. And this will be a fully sized page flip. So look how much additional space we've added to this book. Let's go ahead and do that for this side as well. As I mentioned previously, this paper pad happens to have quite a lot of beautiful journal card cut-aparts, so I'm going to use them as a flip in my book, and I've created one for each set of pages. This is the same gray cardstock I was working with before. It is 3 inches wide by 8 inches tall, and then I scored it at 4. So this will leave me a top portion for my journal card and then some additional space inside to cover with that pattern paper. This journal card is so pretty. They all have a rose gold foiling on them and they're very inspirational. I wound up cutting these to be 2 7/8 wide by 3 7/8 inch high so that it would make the measurements for my flip a little bit easier. So we're still 3 by 4 once it's folded, and I'm just going to use my offcuts on the inside to finish that as well. Will give us a little bit of extra room for finishing. This pattern paper is fairly low contrasting, so you could easily go ahead and write on that if you prefer to keep your journaling a little bit more discreet, or just go ahead and cover that with some more pictures. So let's go ahead and take the tape off, and as I mentioned before, this probably should have some additional adhesive, so I'll put a line of my Tombow right along with my double-sided tape. I'm going in from the outside so that when I press this down, the glue won't squish out. And I'll just go ahead and center this on the page. So this is going to add some fun interactive elements as well as utilize some of the beautiful journal cards that were included in this collection. And so this will be a flip up on a page that flips out. That adhesive, that double-sided adhesive tape will hold that in place while the glue sets up, and so this page will flip out as well. Here is the tape on the back. This will be the right-hand side, and I've paired these papers to match, so every set of 2 pages will coordinate. If that is a look that you like, I recommend doing that. If you like to mix and match, you should consider doing that as well. So here is the second page of my 2-page layout, and I think that it looks really sweet. Look at how many layers of paper we've added here and how much thickness and sturdiness. So these flip out and then this flips up. So let's go ahead and add the remaining pages here, and we'll have the inside of the book all filled up. Each set of pages have two opposing full page tip outs, and each set of pages also has the beautiful foiled journal cards with a tip up that has some of the beautiful collection paper on the inside as well. There's plenty of room for your pictures and journaling here, and adding all of these beautiful paper layers made it so nice and thick and sturdy. While I have this open, I'm just going to go ahead and add my back page. So the measurements for the back and front cover are both going to be a cardstock height of 5 7/8 and a width of 5. The pattern paper is 5 3/4 by 4 7/8, and that will be for the back and the front. I'm going to add a secondary layering pattern on the cover, but you definitely don't have to do that. I just had some offcuts that I wanted to use. Before we flip to the front, I did want to share with you those pages I had with the scripty kind of font there. I made sure that those were going to be facing up so that I didn't have any of my patterns upside down. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip to my cover, and I'll go ahead and finish that with all of my favorite layering.